It's so nice to meet you both. How are you today?
Good.
Ew.
How are you?
Good. I had a chance to see this film last year, and I think it is so interesting and so fantastic and so dark. And I'm curious, what was it that really drew you to this project from the start for both of you?
I mean, for me, I was personally invested because Kevin and Matt are my brothers. And so I've been on a journey of watching them, as their sister and their biggest cheerleader. And so anything they work on, I want to be a part of. And I have been over the years, even like the smallest cameo in some of their work. So to get to take on a role like this, which was, just so challenging and scary in a lot of ways, but it made it that much more exciting that I had that personal connection with my brothers, and I knew that we had all that history to help us with a project like this. So it was kind of, yeah, it was definitely an opportunity I could not pass up.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible script and an incredible opportunity, of course, to work with such lovely and talented people, and also Mia's character, which I just found to be like the gift that keeps on giving, was just such a joyride, an explosive joyride, that I got to have a lot of fun with and kind of, uh, you know, be as big as I wanted and trust the brothers to tell me if I ever had to rein it in. But it's such a freeing experience to be sort of reckless and full of emotion. So yeah, that was a treat.
I would say, Michaela, though I knew about the family connection, going into a film like this, it's not something I would say, oh, it's clear that loving family members who get along decided to collaborate and make this. So I would imagine this is as far away from the kind of relationships that you have, but I just wonder what it's like to have such positive interactions with people and make something that is so based in negativity and trauma.
So interesting you bring that up because the first time I read the script and I was like, "Oh my God, this is ambitious and I'm gonna have to really go down a road on this one." And I think the first thing I asked them when I talked to them after reading the script was, "Did I do something to you in our childhood and you're just trying to get back at me right now?" Like, wow. Yeah. No, it was super intense, but also like because of that relationship, because of that trust, it makes it a lot easier to go to those darker places, actually.
As somebody who really likes time travel and parallel universes and all that, I feel like I pay attention specifically to the rules and like how things work. And I'm curious for both of you what your interest is in this kind of genre and how much that mattered to you in making this in terms of like things have to stay consistent, they have to make sense. They can't just be because that's what it happens in this case.
Definitely, I mean, the integrity of a movie is really reliant on like, does it make sense? And not in the way of like, is it logical, but just does it follow the rules of the universe that the movie creates? Um, and so, I mean, I think again, like it was already so well constructed in the script, like before I got involved. And so my job was made easy. I just kind of had to like show up and bring to life this really wonderful thing that the brothers had created. But I also was like, I was not well versed at all in sci-fi. Like I mean, I like horror films, but mostly like I would say psychological thrillers and not actiony, bloody stuff. So I was really not I was kind of like thrown into that world, but very grateful for that.
I think for me, in watching any kind of like big concept sci-fi film, I'm often, watching with my husband, and I'm often like pausing the film, and I'm like, okay, so take me back to that, or I'm like trying to, understand all of the minutia behind it, and that's what I think is so unique about what my brothers crafted is that you don't need to be like the sci-fi genius to follow the story. And I think that is it takes a lot of like pulling back on their part, and I thought they did that pretty seamlessly. So I think that's what's cool about this movie. Yes, it's sci-fi, but you don't have to be like a sci-fi junkie to enjoy the film.
Do you consider the idea that if there were other slightly different parallel universes out there, maybe it's something you want to visit, or has this film scared you off from that notion because it's maybe not so worthwhile?
I think it's kind of nipped it in the bud for me. No, I think that is kind of the lesson learned is like everybody fantasizes about, well, if I had just, gone down that road instead of this one, where would that lead me? Where would I be? A long, long time ago when I was at a tricky, fork in my road in life, I had a dear friend who said, all roads lead to where you're meant to be, which was such a cool way of looking at life and kind of allows you to just let go of the what ifs. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm lucky in that I wouldn't choose any other path. I'm happy being right here, right now. And I do think that is the overwhelming, message of the film.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I think uh any inclination to explore that kind of thing more is just like from a curiosity standpoint. Like I grew up, I mean, I've seen Groundhog Day more times than I can count. And like it gets to a point where he drives off a cliff. And I think as a kid, I'd always be like, yeah, that's what I would do. Like I would just take it to the extreme and I would, if there were no consequences. But the point of that movie also is that like it doesn't get you anywhere. And I think if you could live every life panned out of like if I had just done this or if I had just done that, you wouldn't really learn anything. You would just be kind of breezing along. But there is like a beauty in like making a really bad mistake and then getting past it and continuing on, and it shapes you. And like Michaela said, you always end up where you should be.
I also think that pointlessness and directionless definitely applies to the repeated act of killing that happens in this film, which definitely there's a lot of creativity to that. Do you feel like there was a how did you handle that kind of content? Since it's obviously very dark and take you to a dark place, but we're also not really supposed to feel any sympathy for the person who's being killed, even if they didn't do this exact thing in this exact place.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the beginning of the movie, you're really brought into that uh device because I'm watching Neville getting, burned to death. And I think the kind of sad part about that right from jump in the movie is you can kind of tell in Irene's face that there's really not a lot of joy in it. It's actually still quite painful. Uh yeah, but there are a lot of kills. I haven't counted how many actually take place in the film, but we did have a special day of just there was like a whole unit devoted to those kills. And I had to shoot with the other unit. So we had one of our Marcella DeLuna was like one of our producers, ended up playing me in that and doing some of those like quick kills that you see throughout the film, and you can just see the hands because indie filmmaking, we're trying to you know hit our time and everything. But yeah, my brothers came up with some really interesting creative ways of killing Neville.
And Stella, I know this is your first feature film. How did the experience compare to what you might have expected in working on shorts?
Um, I mean, honestly, I didn't go in with any expectation. I was too like on such a high that because I'm from New York. I live in New York, and I got the call that I'd gotten this part maybe a week or a little less than a week after we'd done a call back on Zoom, and I had to like be in LA in like 2 days, and then we started shooting. So I was just like buzzing and I was so happy. So I was, I wasn't, there were no expectations other than this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever done. And it was honestly like a really too perfect experience. Like there is you kind of you expect no matter how much joy you can find in a thing or how much you love doing something that there will be some sort of like, bumps along the road. But they're honestly like everyone that I met was so lovely and so kind, and everyone on set, like it really was this bubble of just community, and everyone was so happy to be there. And it spoiled me honestly for any future experiences on a set because everybody and everything was so lovely, and it was such a joy, like 24/7. And I know sounds like so cheesy and like what I've been told to say, but honestly, I had the best experience. Yeah.
What do you want to do next, and what are you doing next?
Um, don't know what I'm doing next at the moment, but I love making. I immediately after, or a few months after we wrapped, I did a play off Broadway, and that was like such a different world and such a different experience. And I was like, and I kind of at one point I was trying to go, just for fun, not in a serious way, but like which do I prefer more, being on a set or being in a rehearsal space and working on a play? And I couldn't tell you because they're almost like two different jobs. Like you're acting, but you're building something entirely different. So I love theater and I love movies, and so be happy to do. And it's really about, the people involved in the project.
A great
Michaela, I've
answer.
been watching you since the days of One Tree Hill and enjoyed following your career. What do you feel like you haven't done yet that you really would love to try in the spirit of infinite possibilities and choices?
Yeah, I love that. Well, this was something really different for me. So I was so happy to get the opportunity to step into these shoes and get to do something like with all the stunt work and the guns and it was just like there was so much for me to play with this particular role. So I'd love to do more of this. I love making independent films. I think like kind of what Stella was saying previous to that question of like everybody's so passionate and there was just this beautiful feeling of community. I think that really rings true when you're making an indie movie, because it's hard. It's hard work. So you really have to want to be there. So I'd love to do more of that. I just wrapped up production on this show. It's called Memory of a Killer. It's airing now on Fox and Hulu next day. Patrick Dempsey, and that's a really cool thriller type show. A lot of twists and turns, and so that was a really good time. I have a really fun episode of Ted coming out, which was so different for me because I never really get to play in the comedy space. And I laughed so much doing that. I don't want to say too much about it because it was so wild and I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but it was a really fun job. So anything in the comedy world would be fun for me because I really don't get that opportunity that often. And yeah, I had FOMO when Stella was telling me about the play that she was working on. It's been so long since I've done theater. So there's still just a lot I want to explore. I feel like I'm just getting started.
Awesome. Well, before I let you both go, what's one thing you've seen, film or TV lately that's really sticking with you?
Ooh.
Good question. I just watched the documentary, I think it's called Come See Me in the Good Light. Oh my God, that was just so beautiful and it's really stayed with me. It's
I
really
I was gonna say heated rivalry. Um, I mean, I didn't know it existed for like a few months after it came out, and my friends were like, What do you mean you don't know what heated rivalry is?" And then I watched it, and it's like all that me and my friend Max can talk about. So
I haven't seen that yet. I know I need to.
don't watch it with your kids.
Got it. Okay.
Well, thank you both so much. I really, really enjoyed this movie and such a pleasure getting to talk about it with you both.
Ditto.
Thank
Thank